Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
and I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
We're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get the one that we know of, so you better make the most of it.
You made the most of that.
good morrow to you, uncle peoples.
Tomorrow.
Uncles of all nations and lands, creeds, races.
We got all the creeds.
Yeah. What is a creed?
Apollo Creed.
When people say that, what does that mean?
They mean the greatest rock band in music history.
Well, get that creed out of it. Get Scott Stapp out of your head for 5 seconds, Doug. What does it mean? Races,
No.
creeds, religions, colors. What is a creed?
I think most people, wouldn't they define that as like
Religion?
Yeah, I think it's
I
a
would say
belief
religion.
system.
Okay, good. We hate that too. Okay, we hate creeds. Welcome to 177, number 177, coming at you.
Boom.
Hot and fresh. I am going to tell you something very silly, but it's going to end with a song.
There's lots of silly in this whole show. I am going to finally piece out this part of the Book of Mormon.
And I'm going to finish it off with something that's so dumb that all I can say about it is that it's over.
Yeah, you're going to want to hit yourself in the head with a giant frying pan, for sure. And we mentioned to our beloved patrons just a few moments ago in the patron-only segment that we just rounded the corner on a year of the patron-only content.
Yeah.
So there are 52 extra bags of bullshit just waiting for you on the other side of that paywall, should you feel so inclined.
Lest you think Uncle Mark is mislabeling that, just understand that unlike this show, that recording every week doesn't have anything going for it. So you can be a part of that if you become a patron. We'll tell you how later in the show.
Yeah, so jump on that, and without any further ado, let's do a show.
Hey, Uncle Doug.
Hello.
Here's something I've noticed. There are a few like unified field theories of derp that have sort of come up through our show that we've been able to put our fingers on. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the main ones is that unless someone is talking about a very specific kind of energy, if they use the word energy, they're wrong. They're lying.
Even our former Secretary of Energy was wrong when he talked about energy.
That's very true.
Yeah.
My God, whatever happened to Rick Perry?
I don't know.
I forgot about him. Maybe he's still in there somewhere.
I think he's lost in the Pentagon somewhere.
Yeah,
Help!
He thought he was going home, but he walked into a broom cupboard and he's still there.
Yeah, he's looking for the sixth side of the Pentagon.
Oh my God!
Yeah, so I think you're exactly right.
Somebody told him who's over there.
Fucking idiot. And I think Ben Carson is just still staring out a window at the Housing and Urban Development. Nobody's told him it's time to go yet.
Wondering where his luggage went.
So back to the energy. So you guys know I often like to weave some kind of pop culture reference into my segments. And admittedly, sometimes it's a bit of a stretch, like when I used Fats Waller's Your Feet's Too Big to introduce the Japanese foot-reading and bank account-destroying cult Hono Hana Sangpogyo in episode 147.
Right.
But today's subject just went ahead and did it for me. In fact, there are a ton of pop culture references connected to today's very strange man and very strange wooish sort of subject. But let's start with one that will be a love letter to my beloved fellow Gen Xers. In 1985, Kate Bush released an album called Hounds of Love. The first single from it was called Cloud Busting. That's a very pretty song, but I never really thought that much about it. But the music video, which I will include in the show notes, is pretty interesting. It features Donald Sutherland, a very tall, lanky Donald Sutherland, hauling a huge wagon up a hill, pushed from behind by Kate Bush herself in the guise of his 12-year-old son. They get to the top of the hill, remove a tarpaulin, which is a great English word, and expose what looks like an anti-aircraft gun made out of tubas and point it skyward. At the time, to me, it looked like perfectly typical new wave art school music video imagery, right? But it turns out that the boy Kate was portraying was a real person with a name, that being Peter Reich, and the man Donald Sutherland was playing also had a name, Wilhelm Reich, the boy's father. So let us start there with the very bizarre story of Wilhelm Reich and his journey to the top of that hill with his son and their very strange device. Born in 1897 in what was Austria-Hungary, but is now the Ukraine, for the moment anyway, Wilhelm Reich lived a fairly privileged, if highly unusual childhood. I'll get to that in a minute. Until he lost his mother to suicide at age 10, an event he blamed himself for, and his father to tuberculosis at age 14, for which he did not blame himself, luckily. He later served on the Italian front in World War I and then entered medical school in Vienna, where his interest was soon drawn to the budding field of psychoanalysis, which was all the rage in Vienna at the time. He soon became acquainted with a little-known figure, Dr. Sigmund Freud, whom Reich impressed with his eagerness and obvious brilliance, and then he soon found himself, still an undergrad, treating analytic patients in Freud's practice at just 22 years old.
Boy.
With Freud's help, he soon was a full member of the Vienna Psychoanalytic Association, and for a young orphan and a very likely PTSD-bearing war vet, he was on his way to an incredibly bright future.
Fun.
And for a while it was. He became a published author, his first book very much impressing Freud and the glitterati of the Viennese psychoanalytic scene. He had his own practice, became faculty at the university, and he continued to develop his own ideas and methods. But Reich's ascendancy was seen as too fast by some other members of the professional community, and they began to bristle at his temper and his arrogance and some of his less than conventional theories and practices. Reich began building off of Freud's idea of the libido, the human sexual drive, and that the ultimate expression of that, the orgasm, must involve the entirety of one's being. This practice led to standard psychiatric talk therapy visits, also including patients stripping to near total nudity, and Reich massaging and pressing on the body to help release what he called the orgasm reflex, as stiffened musculature released pent-up childhood traumas. Now, just a note, I'm going to be talking about some not hideous, but some things of a graphic nature sexually. So if you're listening with your children, consider that. This was fairly shocking to the Viennese psychological community and of the practice, and his young protege. Freud wrote to a colleague, and I quote, "We have here a Dr. Reich, a worthy but impetuous young man, passionately devoted to his hobby horse, who now salutes in the genital orgasm the antidote to every neurosis. Perhaps he might learn from your analysis, Dr. K, to feel some respect for the complicated nature of the psyche." End quote. Take that in for a second. If Sigmund Freud tells you are too obsessed with sex, you might be too obsessed with sex, bub.
Yeah, that's a warning sign.
That's a warning sign. So, this is the sexual bit. About Reich's unusual childhood I hinted at earlier. In his own writing, if his own writings are to be believed, he was quite the early bloomer. He claims to have attempted intercourse with the housekeeper when he was just 4.
Oh, my God.
I can't imagine what that would even be.
Yeah.
He said that he enjoyed watching and participating in sexual encounters with their farm animals, and that he had daily sex from age 11 on with another domestic worker in their house, that at age 15 he began frequenting brothels daily, and that he would pleasure himself to memories of his deceased mother, whose suicide, as I mentioned, he blamed himself for after she caught 10-year-old Wilhelm in sexual congress with the maid.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite a...
feel like, the typical response to something like that is paging Dr. Freud, but in this case, it seems not to have worked.
Exactly. He could literally walk across the hall to Dr. Freud.
Yeah.
Now, Reich's own daughter has written that she believes most of these instances were sexual abuse perpetrated on him, rather than ones he was interested in having. And, of course, legally, she is correct.
I was about to say.
Yes. But, in her thinking, he spun it to make himself a consenting participant, even the instigator. Again, we know that a 4-year-old nor an 11-year-old can consent to sex with an adult or anyone else.
Right.
And not that this necessarily reflects on any of that, but it's illustrative that he had no less than 4 marriages and more adult romantic affairs than I could count in my reading. So sex was very much at the front of mind for our friend Wilhelm Reich. He was later involved in something called the July Revolt of 1927, when the Austrian police killed 84 strikers and injured almost 600 more. This propelled him into becoming a communist, which led him to open several free clinics in Vienna that offered, and I quote, psychoanalytic counseling, Marxist advice, and contraceptives, which is a potent mix, as we all know.
That's a nice one-stop shop, right?
Yeah, you get everything. That and a sandwich. He also had a mobile clinic that offered those same services in far-flung areas where they counseled adults, teens, and children about sexuality and sex, and Marxism. Reich went beyond the study of sex and sexuality in teens and children, which is a normal field of psychological study. He was quite a proponent of sex among teens and children. One can imagine how that went over in a very conservative society on the brink of being overtaken by an even more socially conservative Nazism.
Right.
It all became too much. His stock plummeted, and he began a series of years in exile in Denmark, Sweden, and Norway as one job opportunity and professional association after another crumbled until in 1939 he literally caught the last boat out of Norway before the Second World War started and ended up coming to the U.S. I should note that he is Jewish. So he would not have fared well.
No.
Once in America, he began further research on some really wacky ideas, not really related to his actual expertise, that he'd been developing in exile in Norway. There he had begun to believe that there was some sort of observable electrical energy underlying the sex drive. In haphazard experiments, he began heating up bacteria and protozoa mixed with potassium until they glowed, then swore he was observing tiny tubules of light that he called bions. When the superheated samples later showed the growth of bacteria, he declared life had spontaneously sprung into the dead matter from nowhere, and that he had observed the actual origins of life in the laboratory. Now, he was no laboratory specialist, and his critics were able to show that this was simply free-floating bacteria in an unclean lab growing on the samples.
Right.
So these slipshod experiments led him to declare he had discovered a kind of invisible, pre-atomic, cosmic biological energy he called Orgone Energy. So pre-atomic energy, by that he means before atoms.
Yeah.
So
right.
like smaller than atoms or predating atoms?
Predating atoms and not made of atoms.
Okay.
Right, the thing everything is made of. So, he had kind of taken a radical new direction. Now, this wasn't necessarily a radically new idea. Spiritualists and scientific hobbyists for more than a century had been talking about this idea, like Mesmer's mid-18th century theory of animal magnetism, or Baron Karl von Reichenbach's 19th century theory of the odic force, something invisible, magnetic, and available only to living things. In many ways, it's the exact idea of the Force in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Before the prequels made it available only to bearers of a kind of royal bloodline, therefore totally fucking the beautiful idea that made the universe magical to begin with. Anyway.
Fuck you, Lucas.
Yeah. But this was 1940, and thankfully most of that spirit ether stuff had been laughed out of the scientific community prior to that. But for an ever more isolated and rejected Reich, it was his new holy grail. He began to build boxes that were basically Faraday cages lined with plywood, insulation, and sheet metal that he said could focus the Orgone energy into a subject seated within, preferably naked, naturally.
Do not go in the booth.
Do not
That's
go
all
in
I'm
the
going to
booth.
say.
And potentially cure a variety of psychological issues and potentially increase sexual potency, power, and pleasure, and very likely cure cancer.
Fuck. Yeah,
Well,
he's
what
gone off
kind of
the
a
deep
woo
end.
would it be if it couldn't cure cancer?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and you can look these up online. They're the Orgone Energy accumulators, and they look like a broom cupboard or like a place you would put pies to cool. They don't look like anything. right? So somehow, this is amazing, he convinced Albert Einstein himself to have a look at his gizmo and give it his seal of approval.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he did. And apparently Einstein met him and thought he was fantastic. But then, so he sent him one of these boxes. And after a moment of initial excitement, when Einstein thought he found that the temperature inside the box was unusually higher than the temperature in the room, it was discovered that the experiment was flawed, and subsequent experiments found the box was useless junk. And Einstein kindly told him so. An infuriated Reich harassed him with 25 more letters demanding he state the efficacy of the box. Einstein finally wrote back and said, "Leave me alone and keep my name out of your mouth with this garbage theory."
Right.
So Reich kept claiming that his Orgone Energy accumulators were a miracle and set up a kind of secret clinic in the basement of his country house in Maine where people, and especially a lot of children, were brought to be, quote, treated.
Oh, boy.
Rumors and reports of sexual abuse of the children by his staff, not necessarily by him, I should point out, became rampant, and he had no license to practice anything in the U.S., whether that be medicine, psychology, or universe energy box cures, people started paying attention. Around this time, he invented another Orgone Energy doohickey called the Cloudbuster. So this followed on his claimed discovery of a sinister force called deadly orgone radiation.
Uh-oh.
So the force had a light side and a dark side, I guess.
Yeah.
But he could overcome it, dispel it, and cause clouds to drop rain on much-needed crops via his Cloudbuster.
Oh, fun.
While it's not as impressive as the very theatrical version in the Kate Bush video, it does still look like some kind of anti-aircraft gun. It's got 15 long aluminum tubes mounted on a tiltable tripod that you can point skyward, that with then flexible tubes coming off the back of those that run down into a bucket of water. And that's it. That's the extent of the technology.
Sounds really good.
So
very high tech.
Desperate blueberry farmers offered to pay Reich for his service if he could make it rain. He showed up with his thing, he pointed it skyward, and the next day, it rained. So make of that what you will, but that appears to be the only, quote, successful deployment of his Cloudbuster.
And it so rarely rains in Maine.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Spain on the plane. So
I was going to say, the rain in Maine stays mainly in Spain.
in Hartford. Oh, no, that's Connecticut. Anyway, I don't care. It's the East Coast. So Reich was becoming more and more of a laughingstock, and his circle continued to shrink to all but cranks and conspiracy cultists. The American Food and Drug Association, that had been sniffing around Reich's absurd claims to cures with his energy accumulator box, pounced on him in 1984 and ordered him to stop selling his garbage and to stop claiming it had any effect. Here is the note he wrote to the judge of the court that was charging him.
You said what year? This is 1984?
No, 54.
Oh, 54. Okay.
54. And remember, the FDA was also one of the big boogeymen for Scientology, right?
Right.
Because they challenged his claims that the e-meter could do all the same shit this thing said it could: cure cancer, yada, 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 and that niacin could cure you of anything. So here's the letter he wrote to the judge in the court that was charging him, which is pretty crazy. My factual position in the case, as well as in the world of science of today, does not permit me to enter the case against the Food and Drug Administration, since such action would, in my mind, imply admission of the authority of this special branch of the government to pass judgment on primordial, pre-atomic, cosmic orgone energy. I therefore rest the case in the full confidence in your hands. Well, the judge used his hands and ordered all the orgone boxes be destroyed and his books be pulled from circulation. Funny
that's
aside,
not how judges like to be talked to.
Yeah, judges, they no thank you. Funny aside, FDA agents were interviewing people who bought his accumulators to see if they thought they worked. And one man said he had no idea, but he wanted to keep his because it worked for having his wife sit quietly in it for 4 hours a day. So there's a little honeymooner-style sexist humor for you, everybody.
Love it.
Straight to the cosmos, Alice. So this caused poor, paranoid Wilhelm to deteriorate further. He said he had detected, quote, energy alphas, which were long cigar-shaped UFOs that were, because of course he did, that were poisoning the Earth with chemtrails of bad orgone radiation.
Oh.
He and his young son Peter would hunt them at night with binoculars. Then Reich would aim his cloudbuster at them, claiming to have shot down several of them. It was soon discovered that he was violating the court order by still promoting his boxes and trying to sell them. So in a rather heavy-handed move, FDA agents forced Reich's son Peter, who at this time was like 12, and several colleagues to smash what remaining boxes they had secretly hidden with axes, and then they burned 6 tons of his books.
Whoa.
Even the pre-Orgone Energy psychological treatises that were kind of in the mainstream, semi-mainstream psychology, right?
Yeah, that feels like a bit of an overreach.
Yeah, not a day that covered the federal government in glory, if you ask me. He was eventually arrested, tried for fraud and violating the court order, and sentenced to prison, where he died in 1957, leaving the 13-year-old Peter alone with his fond memories of trying to bust clouds and shoot down UFOs with his father. Memories he recorded in his 1973 memoir, A Book of Dreams. And that is a book that Kate Bush found so moving, she wrote a song and conspired with Terry Gilliam to make the aforementioned music video about.
Oh, he directed that.
He didn't direct, he produced it.
I see.
Oh, wow.
And interestingly, the Cloudbuster in the video was made by the same effects shop that made the Alien for the original Alien. So, and this strange story of the sex-obsessed, exiled rainmaker weirdo left a cultural fingerprint well beyond Kate Bush. He was influential with the giants of the beat movement like William Burroughs and Jack Kerouac, who both mention him. He influenced Norman Mailer and Michael Foucault and Patti Smith, and people like Allen Ginsberg, J.D. Salinger, and Sean Connery had Orgone accumulators in their homes.
Wow.
A version of the accumulator is even featured in the work of another sex-obsessed lunatic, Woody Allen. Anyone who's seen Allen's absurdist 1973 sci-fi comedy Sleeper will remember the infamous Orgasmatron scene.
Yeah.
Right.
That's based on an Orgone accumulator. And even more batty, it is believed the character Dr. Duran Duran in the almost unwatchable 1968 sci-fi train wreck Barbarella is based on Wilhelm Reich himself.
No kidding.
And the excessive machine he aims to kill Jane Fonda with via overstimulus to pleasure is a nod to the Orgone Energy accumulator.
Wow.
So that's a bunch of bananas that are now yours to know of, everybody.
I thought you were going to talk about cloud busting, which is like there's another woo that is about like being able to use your personal energy to like make clouds disappear from the sky. That I personally have encountered in my life. So maybe we'll have to do that as a companion piece.
Yeah,
to this
his
one
was
at some
to cause it to rain.
Yeah, I had no idea. There you go.
But it's so interesting. Like every time we talk about kind of, especially like mid 20th century figures like this and woos, they have such a huge influence in the pop culture as well.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy how
I'm so glad though that we have found that we've found finally the obvious link between orgasms and rain. I knew that there was one.
Yeah.
But I could never put my finger on what it was, and now it's clear.
And Donald Sutherland. So we tied that all up with a bow for you folks. So that is Orgone Energy and cloud busting and Wilhelm Reich, which is not the story I thought I was going to be telling when I started reading about it. That's always how it happens.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Everybody go out there and don't have sex with animals.
Whatever.
You know, Uncle Mark,
I probably less than you think.
I always make that assumption.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the Book of Mormon is that it ends.
The end paper at the back.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I don't believe that it ends.
But today we may put an end to at least one tiny part of the Book of Mormon, but that's up to Uncle Dan.
I promise you, this is it. We're done with Third Nephi after this.
Oh,
Yeah, this is Third Nephi Part 3.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Which, if it feels interminable to you, imagine what it feels like to me, I had to actually read it.
Yeah, poor bastard.
So, just to catch up, when we last left, the fictional ancient Native American Jews known as Nephites, they had just gone through some shit.
Yeah, they
Many
lost a lot
of
of
their-
good people.
Yeah. Many of their major cities had been destroyed altogether, killing everyone in them.
Most of the
Other
Haas.
cities... What's that?
Most of the Haas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the Haas. Other cities had seen earthquakes, insane storms, massive death tolls. What few survivors were left were then plunged into 3 days of total and utter darkness. And then a voice came over the PA of all the Americas saying, "Congrats, I'm Jesus, and y'all just won the fucking lottery because I didn't kill you, so you're welcome."
Right.
And that drops us halfway through chapter 10 of 3rd Nephi, the most important book in the whole Book of Mormon, which is kind of like saying the most important section of a local government's non-binding resolution to honor elm as the official county tree. Anyway, let's dive back in and finish this shit off because I can't take any more of this painfully boring book. So, chapter 11, which is something we'll never be able to say about the Mormon Church. They will never file for chapter 11. But, going on, a bunch of Nephites in the land of Bountiful, which is apparently one of the Lucky Duck cities that hadn't been inhabited entirely by wicked people, so... good for them.
Yeah,
I
but
guess.
you can't imagine what happened to Bountiful Ha.
Right, exactly.
Well, the nice thing about Bountiful is it's a pleasant little city, 30 minutes north of here?
It's just, for me, it's just a 10-minute drive.
Yeah, well, it's got a good rec center, so that recommends it.
No, it's actually Bountiful, Utah is a terrible place.
Yes, it is awful.
And should probably be destroyed by the Lord, but that's a different thing. Anyway, these folks survived the Jesus genocide, and they all went to their temple and were chatting. Just water cooler talk about what they were watching on HBO Max and how 90% of their people are dead now. Oh, and who is this Jesus fella whose voice seems to be able to speak to all of us at once? What's that about? When suddenly, another voice, only this voice had a really thick heaven accent because nobody could understand it. And though it was soft and gentle as a voice, it pierced them to the center, whatever that means. So then the voice spoke again, and they still didn't understand. And then it spoke a third time, and this time the voice really enunciated clearly, and everyone finally understood. It was God! He said in his soft, piercing, almost not understandable voice, quote, "Behold, it's soft and piercing. I don't know how to do that voice. Anyway, behold, my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased, in whom I have glorified my name, hear ye him."
Okay, why did he have to say it 3 times?
Oh my God. Repetition is all this book has at this point.
Because God is a town crier.
You have no idea. It gets so much worse. I chose not to get into it, but there's a point in this book where he says, "And I witness of the Father, and the Father witnesses of the Holy Ghost, and the Holy Ghost witnesses of me." And he goes through it like 15, 20 times at least. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, God speaks, and with that, everybody looks up, and like a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket, Jesus descends from the heavens and lands among the people. Jesus, the man himself in the Americas, beaming down from the sky. And it explicitly says that he was wearing a white robe, which is so on brand for him, but probably meant that everybody who was watching as he descended got a pretty good view of his junk. So, Jesus announced that he was the light and the life of the world, and though there had been no light or life, as though there had been no light or life in the thousands of years before he showed up, and everybody fell down and bowed to him to make sure he knew that they were good little slaves and he should not murder them like he had murdered everybody else. Side note, can we just talk about how important it is to Christians, and especially Mormons, that everybody gets to choose their own path and has total agency. But yet in all their books, God just keeps wiping out entire civilizations who choose wrong.
Exactly. And after what you documented in the last episode of what Jesus has done to this land.
Yeah.
And then he descends from the heaven like the marauding invader that he is. And they all fall onto their knees. They're clearly terrified of a violent death.
Yeah, like what you laid out just in part of Second Nephi was the entirety of the Old Testament level of destruction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Joseph Smith read the Old Testament and was like, hold my beer.
Hold my strong drink.
Hold my Ovaltine. Anyway, so everybody's pretty fucking impressed by this Jesus guy. I mean, he did just float down from the sky. And Jesus looks into the crowd and sees Nephi, our old buddy, son of Nephi, son of Helaman, son of Helaman, son of Alma, son of Alma. I'm going to keep doing. I didn't even write that down. That just came out of the old noodle there.
Well, you guys know how it is. Whenever I meet somebody new, I like them to know who my great 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 grandfather was.
Right.
I just think that's manners.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the begats. We need to know. Anyway, Nephi was the best dude that they had, and so Jesus calls him up on stage and says, listen, everybody, after I leave, if this guy dunks you in water, that's special now, okay? It's called baptism. It's a very meaningful thing. And they all said, why? And he said, I don't know, shut up.
Look, just do what this fucking guy says. That's
right.
Right. He's proved his point.
Yeah. Jesus then calls 11 other dudes to have magic water powers as well. And by the way, one way that we know that this part of the Book of Mormon is unique is that Joseph Smith's Tourette tics totally change. Before now, every other verse began with, and it came to pass, as we discussed. Now that Jesus is here, though, we're switching to verilies. Holy shit! There are so many verilies, and not just one per instance like King James did. Here, it's verily, verily, I say unto you, the dreaded double verily. All the time. It's just how Jesus begins every fucking paragraph.
Which is crazy because we know that two verilies do not make it, and it came to pass. Like that's
right?
It's just maths.
It's just an old saying. We all know this.
It's just doubling up on something does not make it better.
Right.
You remember when in The Simpsons the school came upon a huge amount of money and everybody got what they wanted? And Otto, the bus driver, all he wanted was, those guitars that are like double guitars?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Especially in this case. But it does increase your word count, which must have been what he was going for. So there you go. After reading this book, I spent a whole day with my eyes glazed over, just shuffling around my house like a zombie, muttering, verily, verily. Andrea almost shot me in the head, but that part's pretty normal. Okay, so the Jesus World Tour has begun, and he's no dick. He knows better than to bore the crowd with stuff from his awful new acoustic album. No, he launches straight into his biggest hits. He does, and I shit you not, the Sermon on the Mount.
Oh my God.
Literally just cribs it, mostly word for word from the King James Bible, adding a few small flourishes here and there. For example, the King James Bible says, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The Book of Mormon says, yea, blessed are the poor in spirit who come unto me, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Most of them aren't changed at all. It's just pretty much a direct ripoff. Now, 3 Nephi chapters 12, 13, and 14, therefore, are basically exactly the same as Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7. Except that where Matthew has the word verily twice, specifically Matthew 5, chapter 5, has the word verily in it twice. 3 Nephi, chapter 12, which is the equivalent chapter, has in it, anybody want to guess? 4 14 fucking verilies.
Say
Oh
20.
my God.
Yeah. So there's those 3 chapters down. You can, I'm sure that there are several BYU doctoral dissertations have been written about the differences between the 2 Sermons on the Mount. Just read the original. It's still boring and obvious, but way less wordy, which is much better.
I remember we did in a couple lessons in seminary, we did like a deep dive into the differences between the 2 Sermons on the Mount. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I want my money back.
All of it. Yeah, exactly. So Jesus finishes the sermon and looks out at the crowd expecting a standing ovation, but they clearly wanted more. So he hit him with, quote, "I fulfilled the law of Moses, so now that's over." That's not really a quote. I don't know why I said quote.
Verily.
Anyway, I actually put it in quotation marks to indicate to me as I read it to you that I was speaking in his voice. But then I said the quote thing and ruined everything. Anyway, he fulfilled the law of Moses. That's over now, which is good because the law of Moses was stupid. But again, I will never understand why Christians, and especially Mormons, considering this, continue to read the Old Testament. Jesus says it's over. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, well, in Matthew, in the Bible,
In the real one?
yeah, he says he has not come to change the law of Moses. Right? He said all that stuff. Not one jot, not one tittle. It all remains in place.
Well, he said both things, but of course it doesn't contradict itself because it can't, because it's perfect.
Right.
Verily,
exactly.
verily I
So-
say unto you.
But I didn't know the Book of Mormon said, yeah, all that old stuff. Just chuck that.
He's 100% clear. He clarifies that completely in the Book of Mormon. So that's nice. Then he launches into a whole thing about how, back in his hometown, he said that the great shepherd, had other sheep, but they were idiots and totally thought he was talking about the Gentiles. But no, duh. He was talking about missing secret tribes of Jews. These guys, the Nephites, and the other lost tribes. So take that.
Oh
And
yeah,
here's what's that?
I remember. I'm there, baby. Testify.
Yeah. And here's where we learn something about Jesus. He repeats himself, like a lot. I talked about it earlier. Yes, he blathers whole chapters of the Bible, so there's that repetition. But even when he's just saying new stuff, oh my God, he says it over and over again, but literally back to back to back, because Joseph Smith was a pathetic hack. So he reiterates that there are other lost tribes and that he's going to go to them too. And he occasionally pauses to remind everyone that they're supposed to write down everything he says. Are you writing this down? Good. So anyway, I already said this stuff to the people in Jerusalem, and now I'm saying it to you, and then I'm going to go say it to the other lost sheep. Did I already say that? Did somebody write that down? I better say it again.
I pity the court reporter of Nephi era America.
Right?
That had
How
some
fast
kind of.
can you write on gold?
Yeah, how fast can you
the
pound
court
these
reporter is
words
just-
into gold?
Yeah, using reformed Egyptian to keep up. It's like shorthand.
Yeah. Then there's this little nugget, a wink, if you will. This is chapter 16, verse 7. It says, "Behold, because of their belief in me, saith the Father, and because of the unbelief of you, O house of Israel, in the latter day shall the truth come unto the Gentiles, that the fullness of these things shall be made known unto them." Get it?
Hey,
It's
That's
it's
us.
almost like that's talking about Joseph Smith getting this truth to us in the latter days. Ooh, latter days. That's good. Write that down for later. Latter
is
days.
a latter day. Tomorrow is a latter. To cut me off when it becomes a legal problem. Tomorrow is a latter day.
Here's the funny thing about the latter days. The original name of the church that Joseph Smith founded was just the Church of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And or the Church of Christ, maybe, which is funny. So he didn't intend to use the term Latter-day Saints when he first named the church, but after 5 or 6 different names, they settled on that one, on the longest, most clunky name known to mankind.
Well, then they kind of didn't settle on it, but now they have again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And in like 2 to 3 weeks from now, they won't again.
Yeah, once he dies, we'll see what happens. Then Jesus kind of runs out of steam, which is a theme in this book. Here's the thing. He's really losing his crowd. So much so that he accuses them of being weak and unable to understand him. He's like, go home and ponder what I've said. I'm going back to heaven, and then I'm going to go to those other lost tribes that I was talking about. Have I mentioned the other lost tribes? Anyway, that's what I'm going to do.
Well,
but
let's not forget, too, that this crowd that he's losing has yet to bury their dead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a rough time.
And
Everybody's
or to
a little
locate
shell-shocked.
the living. Like they don't know if their families are still alive.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's a weird moment. It's a weird moment. But I will say this. For a genocidal maniac, Jesus was an old softy at heart. So when he looked around at the crowd and saw that they were crying and giving him the puppy dog eyes, which it literally says they were, it doesn't say puppy dog, but yeah, he sighs and says, this is a direct quote from the Book of Mormon, "Behold, my bowels are filled with compassion toward you."
See, when you said he was running out of steam, I wondered if the local cuisine was upsetting to him.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, it's exotic. He's not used to what's in the water.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
And this is a sentiment that he repeats in the next verse about his bowels being full, this time with mercy, which is brilliant because now every time I think about Jesus' compassion or mercy, I know he's really just full of shit.
I wonder if he didn't understand that kind of the term of art for that is bosom. And right, it's kind of my heart and my chest and
hey, you know what? You just pick a body part and run with it. Why not?
Right, you just pick any part of the digestive tract, and that's where your love is.
Boom. Anyway, because he was so compassionate and or stopped up, he dug into his bag of tricks for one of his big crowd pleasers. I apparently can't say the term crowd pleasers. And so he kind of looks out in the crowd and he's like, all right, do I got any sick people in the crowd? Sick, lame, blind, leprous, whatever. And so everybody runs out and grabs their grandma or, whoever they've got that, can't see or whatever and brings them up to the
500,000 people he just killed.
I was about to say, that seems kind of an insensitive question to a population you have just stomped on.
Right.
Anybody hurt?
Has anybody had a house fall on them recently? Anyone? Oh, a whole lot of you. Okay, well, everybody come up to the front, and one by one, as the infirm approached him, before you could say Peter Popov, he healed them. So that's a good trick. That's always a fun one. Then he said, now for my next trick, let's bring all the children up to the front. And they brought all of the kids up, and Jesus stood in the middle of them and told everybody to kneel. And then Jesus, quote, groaned within himself.
Nope, this is not going anywhere good.
Sounds menacing, but before you worry that this is an altar boy scenario, he kneels down himself and starts to pray. Now, do you want to know what he said in that prayer?
Sure.
Well, tough shit. Apparently, the things which he prayed cannot be written. Everybody heard it and apparently understood it.
It's just like, this is neither the time nor the place to hear what Jesus actually said.
Right. The last thing you need to know is the best prayer ever.
It's Trump tweeting out for like the last 4 weeks of his presidency. Today, the president had many calls and took many meetings.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Literally, the book says this, quote, no tongue can speak, neither can there be written by any man, neither can the hearts of men conceive so great and marvelous things as we both saw and heard Jesus speak.
It was a perfect phone call.
It was a perfect phone call.
Wait a minute. So, he said no human mind can comprehend what we just heard.
No, the hearts cannot conceive.
Okay,
maybe that's because the brains are the things that do conceiving. So.
And the bowels are where the love is.
No one can imagine the thing I just imagined.
Right, exactly.
Like what conceivable combination of words can pass into the realm of unimaginable? Like,
you got to wonder if he took a couple runs at the thing and just never actually got it written down in a way that he liked. So he was like, you know what, you can't.
And realized that he really was not that gifted poetically, that he had
Right.
no gift for rhetoric, as the rest of the book proves in spades.
Right.
Or that it turns out he just said, bless this food that it may nourish and strengthen us.
Yeah, it's a cop out, just like Of Curious Workmanship is, right?
Exactly.
Like, you don't describe the magic 8-ball. You just say, oh, it's amazing. You couldn't believe it. It's so amazing.
You guys wish you could have seen that. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So good. Anyway, then he wept for a little for no apparent reason, and then he said, "Look at the children." At which point, nobody did that because they all were looking up because the sky was on fire and angels were coming down out of it. And the angels circled around the children, and then fire encircled the children, which was a little alarming. And the angels, quote, ministered to the children, which is also pretty alarming.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means, but I assume that now we've gotten to the altar boy stuff. Anyway, then let's see, where am I? Ah, yes. Then Jesus taught them how to do the Eucharist, which the Mormons call the sacrament. And he did it by blessing bread and, what the fuck, wine!
Uh-oh.
It was wine! Jesus Christ, Mormons! We grew up having to do bread and water, which is so boring and stupid, which is perfect for Mormonism. But come on!
I gotta say, after a city has been destroyed to the level that these cities have, I wouldn't trust the drinking water.
Well, there you go. Absolutely. But also,
Wine.
do you guys... Look, for more on how we Mormons were ripped off, you go and listen to Uncle Doug's talk all about the word of wisdom in episode 66. But trust me, we were ripped off. Anyway,
Yeah, everything good.
the fact that it's in their book is what just blows my mind. Anyway, then Jesus says he's going back to heaven. This time for realsies, so everybody be good, and everything gets really dark all of a sudden and nobody can see, and when it's light again, Jesus is gone.
Oh, no. Is that serious? He just pulls a magician's trick?
That's the worst. The worst magician would be like, come on, that's pretty lame.
I
Jesus.
thought that he was going to fly back up to heaven like he descended, but it would be at that moment that all the love in his bowels released.
Maybe that's where the darkness came from.
He would
I'm
just
not
rise
sure.
on a column of spattery diarrhea on accident.
I mean,
It wouldn't be the worst thing that happened to those people in the past week.
No.
They said a cloud of darkness. You may be right. Anyway, we are assured that he did ascend back into heaven, which I assume is the sky, because that's where he came from, and that's what ascend means. So I'm going to guess that the darkness was just so people wouldn't see his junk again.
Right.
And that's the end of episode 18. And at that point, I breathed a sigh of relief. I made it through Jesus' trip to America. Whew. But just to be sure, I peeked over to chapter 19 to see what the Nephites had to say about all of this. And Jesus came back! What are you doing? It's like these rock stars and their incessant encores, am I right?
Right.
Anyway, what does he do? Well, he teaches them the sacrament again.
Oh, my God.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. One wonders if he just thought he was going to Cleveland and then accidentally stayed in the same place or came back to the same place. Anyway, he repeats a bunch of other stuff he already said, and then he starts to talk about Isaiah. Now, you might say to yourself, the Nephites wouldn't know anything about Isaiah. How would they know anything about Isaiah? Being on the opposite side of the planet and all. But that just means that you don't know that earlier in the Book of Mormon, Joseph Smith steals about 18 full chapters from Isaiah. Just rips them right off. So
It's an homage. It's
they
not
all
plagiarism.
totally know
it's an
what
homage.
Jesus is talking about. And that's what he does. He steals a bunch of Isaiah now and a bunch of Malachi, like full chapters from the Bible. So that's fun. And at some point, we get to chapter 28, where Jesus promises his 12 main dudes that they all will have a free ticket into heaven when they die. But there's a twist. 3 of them turn that offer down. Mm-hmm. Now, Uncle Mark, back in episode 39, you talked about what they asked for instead. Would you like to remind folks what these 3 Nephites took as their non-heaven consolation prize.
Eternal life, which apparently, according to Mormon lore, means they are doomed to an existence of road work somewhere between Cedar City and Loa.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They are just
in Utah.
walking the earth like fucking kung fu.
These are the
forever.
famous three Nephites.
And it's that chapter, I think, Dan, where he sends them into heaven to have a look, right? And they come back. They're like, oh, there were things we could not describe and could not understand.
Yeah.
Once again, it's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Great storytelling.
Cool. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. So there you go. They're still walking around out there somewhere, and
Along
if
with
you
John the
find them-
Beloved and Bigfoot.
Yes.
right? And if you find them, be sure if you can grab them for long enough, they'll give you their pot of gold.
They're kind of the Mormon X-Men, so just be warned.
More like the Mormon A-Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a problem, and if you can find them.
They're more like the Mormon AAA team. Deep cuts.
Oh my God! So Jesus, nearing the end of his time in America, launches into a whole big thing about how one day, a long time from now, this book will get into the hands of the Gentiles, non-Jews, not like all of you Native Americans who are totally Jews, and they'll read this, and that will mean that I, the Lord, have started gathering my flocks, and this book will restore the gospel to the world, and that'll be really amazing and totally cool. So anybody who's in that time period should definitely not make fun of this book because, it's 100% legit. And woe unto them. And also, miracles are real, and special people can totally get direct revelation, and prophecy is true. So, just for future reference. And then... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, is that the end?
No.
Oh, God.
And then, we're almost there, though. Don't worry.
Oh, my God.
Then Jesus throws in... I love this. He throws in a quick moment about not being mean to Jews, which I thought was nice. And a little weird, but apparently he was prescient and knew that people in the mid-19th century were going to be like wildly anti-Semitic assholes, so he sneaks in that little chestnut.
Yeah, another major departure with Christian orthodoxy.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I thought that was cute. And then finally, Jesus skitters on back to heaven. Or to Japan or something like that to talk to another lost flock of Jews. Who the fuck knows? The end.
Ta-da!
Of 3rd Nephi, not of the Book of Mormon. Obviously, that book will never end, despite what Doug says. Amen.
I love this idea that there's this list of tribes he's got to visit.
Yeah.
And that they must be ranked in some way. Because whether,
Right?
I don't know if it's alphabetically or by righteousness, but somebody's at the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
So somebody had their town destroyed and had to wait like 3 weeks for Jesus to show up.
Yeah. It's the tribe of Winston.
Yeah.
It's just still waiting, so.
Oh, my God.
All right, well, that is over.
It is. It
So-
is. And
so-
it will be a while before I venture back into this book. So,
Let's move on in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
woo! Hey, boys.
Sorry, I was
Hello.
just having a sip.
Oh, good, you're there. Oh, good. You did decide to join to keep going.
That
with
was the
show
moment
with
I
me.
decided to have a little sip of water.
I see. Okay. Well, hi. Here.
Hi.
Look, one of the things that we need to talk about is the fact that we like to do this show, and people like to listen to it, and some of them give us their money, and that is awesome because we're entirely listener supported. We don't play ads for anybody.
No.
It's just us yelling into the void, and people throwing coins back at
And
us.
if you don't do that, we're going to have to go back to what we used to do, which is selling drugs to school kids.
Right.
Right.
Right. And so if you want to be mean and keep school kids from having a good time, the way to
Doom
do
them
that
to
is
sobriety.
the way to do that is to give us some money. And so we have some folks to thank in that accord, and so here they are. Thanks so much to Dan, to Venable, thanks to the other Mike, not that Mike, the other one, and to Barbara. And so those people are winners for the week in terms of money, but money's not the only way to support us. You can support us too by going to iTunes or wherever you get your various podcasts, and you can write us a nice review. You can give us 5 stars, and that will help us a lot. So here's this week's nice review.
When you give us 5 stars, you enter reading it on air lottery, right?
Well, when you write a review,
Yeah, that's
if you
right.
just give us 5 stars, that's nice. But we're not just going to read stars.
Star. Star.
So here's this week's winner of you wrote us a review, and now we're reading it on the air. This is from Zpostate, and it's titled "Dang Good Uncles," which is nice. Since my real life uncles are all Trump sniffing QAnon nuts, it's great to have some audio uncles to give advice in this wild, crazy world. Dan, Mark, and Doug gently guide us through the ins and outs of religious nuttery every week. It's literally the only reason to wake up on Wednesdays. All 3 are great, but for the record, I'm Team Doug.
Oh, we found one.
Hey,
Boom.
Nice.
Somebody rooting for the underdog there, Uncle Doug. That's
the
amazing.
membership of my fan club has gone up 100%.
Yeah. Excellent. So there you go. Please feel free to go onto one of those venues and give us the 5 stars that we definitely don't deserve. Write us a review. We certainly appreciate it. Or give us money by going to howtoheretic.com and then click on the support
us.
thing and do the thing. And then you're supporting us.
Yeah.
And don't you feel good about yourself
And then
when
you
you're
get
supporting us?
all that 52 free extra bits of the show. Well,
Boom.
not free. You have access to them.
That's right.
I fucked that up. Sorry, guys.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. They've come to expect it from us.
Totally.
They know.
That's why they love Doug more than me.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Let's keep going.
Well, Uncle Dan,
Yeah.
we 3 live in a place that I would describe as anything but flat.
Yes, indeed.
Right? We have purpled mountains majesty.
It's true. It's true.
And
We
although
have,
we do have one of the flattest spots on Earth not far from here.
Yeah.
It's true. As a matter of fact, if you go to Wendover, Nevada, or West Wendover, Utah, you will get to see if you go to their they have a tourism little shack
Yeah.
that you can go to, and one of the tourist attractions that they'll tell you about is one of the bullet points is titled simply "Curvature of the Earth."
Yeah, well, whatever. It's a flat place. It's a very flat place.
Right.
Right? Doug, you know about
Well-
flat places.
Well, do indeed, dear uncles. I have been putting off this subject since the earliest days of this podcast because it is so dumb, so asinine that one cannot help but come away from researching this dumber and less hopeful about our species than when one started.
We have a few of those subjects, and it's like we all know we've got to do it at some point, and none of us want to pull the card.
Exactly.
Right.
I was
It's
really
like-
hoping.
It's like when I did the BYU electroshock program. I'm like, I don't want to do it. We got to do it.
I was hoping that one of you would take this on and spare me the few precious brain cells I have left.
Nope.
Alas, you
No,
both failed me.
I was too busy ruining my own with the Book of Mormon. I'm
Fair
sorry.
enough. Yeah. You both failed me. So today, let's just get it the fuck over with and let's talk about flat eartherism. Yeah, this is so dumb. Okay. In a nutshell, modern flat earthers believe that the Earth is a flat disk surrounded by the Antarctic ice wall, several hundred feet tall, surrounding the entire edge of the disk,
Oh my God.
covered with a huge glass dome. If you want to go online and Google flat Earth, model flat Earth, and look at what it's pretty ubiquitous. It's one of the few things that all flat earthers, all adhere to is this model.
They all believe this, or for the most part, huh?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, the glass dome model is
God.
extremely.
It's a
ubiquitous.
terrarium.
And they actually refer to it as a terrarium at times. Yeah. The sun and the moon are small objects under the dome that rotate around the disk, which gives us day and night.
Shut up.
And of course, this truth has been hidden from the populace by take your pick: NASA, the royal family, big oil, big pharma, the Vatican, and before you ask, yes, the Jews.
Obviously.
This is,
You know
of
what
course...
what we need Cody to do every time we mention the Jews in a conspiracy theory? We need a little klezmer sting. They're like a little clarinet.
I'm going to start a band called Klezmer Sting.
Oh, this is all such nonsense, and as we'll talk about, every one of these beliefs are crazy and easily disprovable and stand in opposition to all available science. However, as we'll discuss, this is not nearly the insurmountable issue for flat earthers as it should be. Firstly, remember, the actual truth is being suppressed. Therefore, one should only rely on experimentation and evidence that one can perform and observe themselves.
Unless it doesn't go right, in which case don't rely on that
Fantastic point, exactly. The experiments that have been suggested and performed by flat earthers all over the globe are at once ridiculous and pathetic, but more on that in a couple minutes. It is the fundamental mistrust of our current body of scientific evidence that allows flat earthers to exist. The belief, now let's go back a little bit, the belief that the earth is flat is ubiquitous in human history because it looks flat.
Yeah.
The size of the earth being what it is, 79,017 miles in diameter, or 24,901 miles in circumference.
Whew.
No matter how high one were to climb on any mountain in the world, one cannot see the curvature of the earth from its surface. It's too big. To the ancient mind, it's the same reason that everyone believed that the earth was the center of the universe, because it looks and feels like the earth is not moving and the sun and stars rotate around our fixed point. I mean, it's logical to think the earth was flat before you had any reason to doubt that it was.
Right.
Right, but you also think it's dark when your eyes are closed.
Exactly.
And then you open them and you're like, oh, holy shit, it's not dark. Wait,
Exactly.
hold on, it is again. Wait, now it's not.
Now, because the earth looked flat to the naked eye, nearly all ancient models of the earth were flat, and therefore any reference to the earth in ancient texts, which unfortunately include the Bible, refer to the earth as a flat plane or disk. This will, sadly, come back to bite us in the ass in stupid ways thousands of years later.
You say disc, but I've read parts of the Bible, and one part says it has 4 corners. So
Exactly.
I say it's a square.
That's exactly right. The Bible is not clear on the nature of the earth, as it is not clear on many things. But you're right. One of them refers to it as a disc, and one of them refers to it having 4 corners. But that's not our
Maybe
problem
it's
to
one of
solve
those
here.
discs with corners. That's what I hadn't taken that into account. I
There you
apologize.
go. The ancient Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras is credited with being the first person to propose that the earth was a sphere in the 6th century BCE. Legend has it that his study of the moon led him to understand that it was not a disk, but spherical, and then so logically was the earth as well. Since then, every scientific breakthrough has proven this hypothesis true. Within years of Pythagoras, contemporary astronomers saw that the shadow of the earth on the moon during a lunar eclipse was round. In the 3rd century BCE, so not long after Pythagoras, Aristophanes not only proved that the earth was round, but predicted its circumference to within 1 degree.
Wow.
Yeah.
These were smart people. Then, of course, Ferdinand Magellan and Juan Sebastian Elcano completed the first circumnavigation of the earth in 1522. And now, of course, we have orbited the earth, landed on the moon, and watched our spherical earth rise over the lunar horizon, and sent probes to the furthest reaches of our solar system, which have sent back countless images of Earth, and even video of the moon orbiting our blue dot.
You don't believe that, do you, sheeple?
Or have we? Yes, we have. Here's the thing about this, and it's the fundamental difference between actual science and conspiracy theory. The Earth does indeed look flat, like I mentioned before. The idea, as embedded as it is in our brains today, that the Earth is a sphere was very hard to wrap your head around 2,500 years ago. But that's what the evidence and data suggested. It was to many terrifying to realize that we were living on an enormous sphere, just as it was terrifying to learn only a generation ago that we are living on a series of fractured stone plates, sliding over a sea of magma, or that the universe is not just expanding but accelerating, and we don't yet know why. But that's what the evidence and data suggested. But because it was hard to comprehend, and if one relies only on what their own eyes can see, the flat Earth model persisted for centuries in different cultures around the world. In fact, it lasted in China until the 17th century. But at the dawn of the 18th century forward, We put away childish things that our ancestors believed, including, but not thankfully limited to, the flat earth. Although seemingly a thing of the past, the flat earth model never fully disappeared. There were some, mostly laboring under biblical literalism, who still kept the flame alive. Among them were Washington Irving, author of Rip Van Winkle and the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Oh, I know, it's kind of weird, among others. Then in 1849, an author named Samuel Rowbotham published what would become the founding document and sacred text of flat earthers to this day, Zetetic Astronomy. This is a compendium of several scriptural references to the flat earth and laughably insufficient experiments proving the same. This book led directly to the founding of the first Flat Earth Society in 1956 in Dover, England, by a guy named Samuel Shenton. Remember, the society was founded just 1 year before the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, which orbited the Earth, sending down a signal as it went.
Yeah.
I do take great pleasure whenever one of the really, really stupid things in the world happens not in the United States of America. Can I just say that makes me happy?
On that rare day.
Yeah.
I know. I'm always happy when someone does something stupid in Arkansas or India because it's not here.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
Utah.
So confronted with this evidence of the orbiting satellite, man-made satellite, Shenton would launch what would become the prime directive of all flat earthers, denial of science and laughable counter-theorizing. He said, quote, "Would sailing round the Isle of Wight prove that it were spherical? It is just the same for those satellites." So there you go. We're off.
Boom. Got us.
Yeah. Although the flat Earth model would never went away, and even though it had a text of its own and now an official society to promulgate it, it consisted of a vanishingly small number of people, like hundreds of people, and existed on the edges of polite society with its cousins like necromancy or glass-looking. Then came the age of the Internet. History will be the judge, but it seems that the last few years have certainly cast into doubt whether, on balance, the Internet will be seen as a net positive or net negative for the human species. With the Internet, particularly YouTube, the Flat Earth conspiracy has exploded over the last several years. 7 or 8 years, really. Flat Earth YouTube channels exist with tens of thousands of subscribers, with some somewhat well-produced content, some very, very badly produced content. Likewise, debunking channels and websites have grown apace with the Flat Earth content. Although we'll talk about this later on, the harder people try to debunk this shit, and the more prominent the debunkers, including Neil deGrasse Tyson, among others, the more credibility some find in the conspiracy, which is the fucking insanity of these conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Well, it just proves it. You give it oxygen, and you've just proven it.
What do? It's like cancer. You know what I mean? You can't ignore it,
right?
But you also can't reason with it. So there's no reliable census on the actual number of flat Earth adherents, but the estimated number ranges from several million to several tens of millions worldwide. Part of the problem is that, like most conspiracy theories, believers are pretty decentralized, and the community is constantly schisming and reforming, and adherents range in belief from having doubts about the spherical Earth to being 100% convinced that the Earth is flat.
Right.
But it's at least possible that there are more people now who believe the Earth is flat than there are Mormons or Jews.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was going to guess it was probably in the 10-ish million range.
Yeah, and it is unfortunately growing. There are many who are vying for the title of leader of the flat Earth community and all the notoriety and poontang that comes along with that moniker. But two of the most ubiquitous faces in the community are Mark Sargent and Patricia Steer, whose documentaries and YouTube content have reached millions worldwide. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the specific beliefs of flat earthers, how they justify these beliefs, and at the same time dismiss the existing science that flatly, pun intended, debunk their beliefs, and the myriad contortions that must be made to do just that. Firstly, let's look at the evidence for the flat Earth. Ready? Here goes. Hey, look over there. I can see mountains. Ipso facto flat Earth. There it is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the extent of it.
Oh.
Now let's delve into...
Well, also, I mean, I think you're being a bit disingenuous.
Just a bit.
The Bible.
Also the
What
Bible.
about that?
Very good point. Yep. And a lot of them, like biblical literalism, is the only reason that flat Earth made it to today.
Right.
Yep. And many believe flat earthers dovetail with Christian communities and other religious communities that blah blah blah.
Yeah, well, dreams really do come true, I guess.
Yeah. So now let's delve into the specific beliefs. Okay. A main and fundamental problem for the idea of a flat Earth is gravity. Gravity is caused by mass, and although the observable gravity of Earth is consistent with that of a spherical body, meaning if you calculate the mass of a round spherical Earth, you would predict the amount of gravity that we indeed do have based on the theory, right? And that is consistent with the other observable bodies in the solar system and their gravitational pulls. It is not consistent, however, with a flat disk. One prominent explanation is constant acceleration. They maintain that the Earth is constantly accelerating upward at 9.8 meters per second squared, which is in fact the speed an object moves when dropped.
Right.
This acceleration, which gives us the appearance of gravity, is caused by a universal accelerator pushing on the bottom of the disk known as dark energy or etheric wind. What or who is causing this wind, what it is made out of, is not a problem that flat earthers feel needs explanation. The main problem, of course, with this idea is that at a constant acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared, it would take less than 1 year to surpass the speed of light.
Right. Yeah, you can't keep accelerating forever.
No, you cannot. But never fear, flat earthers have an explanation for that too. Ready? Relativity. That's it. They don't explain how that helps them, just that it exists. So another explanation is that part of the Earth, the part of the Earth that we exist on is a flat disk, but what lies beneath our feet is much more robust. Think of it like a broken stalactite. We live our lives on the flat disk at the top, but the stony mass beneath our feet extends hundreds or thousands of miles down, which gives the disk the sufficient gravity consistent with the mass of a spherical Earth.
I hate this. I just hate it. I hate it. Yeah.
Still, others argue that it's not gravity or acceleration that makes things stick to the surface of the Earth, but buoyancy and atmospheric pressure. Honestly, this was a rabbit hole so stupid I only dipped my toe. But this particular explanation is not even widely accepted by flat earthers.
Oh my God. I love the idea that we're just sinking.
Exactly. I mean, it is. They like, well, underwater things sink. So in atmospheric pressure, things sink. No, that's as far as I'm going with that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What about the sun and moon? We see the sun rise over the horizon in the morning and dip below the opposite horizon in the evening, as does the moon, but on a different schedule. This would seem
Checkmate,
to be
atheists.
This would seem to be somewhat problematic for flat earthers, and it is. But it leads us to one of the most infuriatingly self-contradictory and silly beliefs in flat eartherism. As stated before, the sun is a small, localized light source that rotates around the flat disk, acting like a spotlight, giving us the appearance of day and night. The sun is said to be according to some sources, the sun is said to be roughly 50 kilometers in diameter.
Oh my God.
And hangs about 5,500 kilometers above the surface of the Earth.
Oh my God.
However, and obviously, if the Earth was flat, a light source at that height would be visible from everywhere all the time.
I'm looking at one of the models online, right? There's a terrarium.
Yeah.
And it's got the glass bubble over it, and it's got the stupid ice wall. And the sun and the moon are in the same fucking sky.
Yeah.
Over a flat area.
Yeah.
The sun would never be off. The sun would never go away.
You'd always see it, and it would never dip below the horizon.
No, it'd never go below. It would just go around and around in the sky.
Right. There is no horizon on the flat Earth for it to dip behind in the first place.
No, the shadows of trees would just go around in circles.
Exactly.
All forever.
Exactly. So
You guys are outraged. I love it.
I'm just so fucking angry about this.
the explanation for this, and this will come up a lot, is atmospheric interference. Just like when you look out over long distances in the desert, the rising hot air from the Earth's surface distorts and even hides objects from our limited view.
Well, that's driven by heat.
Right, exactly.
Oh, my God.
If you're going to try and find consistency in this, you're going to break your brain.
Consider it broken.
So what are these tiny sources of light made of? How do they float under the dome? From flat earthers' perspective, that sounds like a whole lot of not my problem. What then are we to make of other celestial bodies that we can clearly observe and that are obviously spherical? With nothing more than a moderately powerful pair of binoculars, one can see the rotation of Jupiter in real time, marking the movement of the Great Red Spot. You can see the body rotate. With the aid of an easily purchased telescope, the same is true of dozens of celestial bodies in our solar system. Okay, well, to get out of this conundrum, flat earthers simply concede that all the other bodies in the solar system are indeed spherical. It's just the Earth that is flat.
God, why?
Suckers!
Why? Like, okay. The gravitational planetary aggregation, right?
Right.
Physics, at some point, are kind of simple in a way. So 8 or 7 planets, sorry, Pluto, happened this way, but the third one didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
And who made the glass dome?
Put a pin in that because we'll get there. Because I do want to discuss that. And you're not going to like the answer. Let me put it. Let me spoiler alert. Okay.
You're not gonna like
Do we need a
any
little
of this.
clarinet sting right there?
All right. What about ship and plane navigation? For thousands of years, sailing ships have used the spherical Earth to navigate between points on the globe.
Yes.
Okay. On the flat Earth model, for example, the distance between the southern tips of Africa and South America are many times further apart than they actually are, right? Sailors provision their ships for the distance predicted on the round body, not the distance predicted on the flat Earth model.
Right.
Likewise for planes and their loads of fuel, right? If you take you measure the distance on the globe between the Cape of Good Hope and whatever South Africa,
Yeah.
and you get enough fuel to fly that distance or provision your ship for that. If it's the flat Earth model, you will die about a quarter of the way. Right? Yeah. So, they don't have a great explanation for this one, except that increased fuel consumption by motorized ships and airplanes lines the pocket of big oil.
Oh, yeah. See, you're just buying into their narrative now.
Wake up, sheeple. Shall we talk about the ice wall? Let's talk about the ice wall.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah,
this is where we get all Game of Thrones. I love it.
Exactly. The entire flat Earth disk is surrounded by a giant ice wall, some several hundred feet tall, which is Antarctica on our silly globe model. And flat earthers gleefully describe it as similar to the wall in Game of Thrones. This wall is what prevents the oceans from simply flowing off the sides of the disk.
And what prevents humans from ever getting over the edge somehow.
Well, and it's not yes, but
except that we've been all over Antarctica.
Well, that's if you believe the photos. So the discovery and publication of this wall would seem to be the holy grail for flat earthers, right? It would prove positively that their hypothesis is true. Well, it turns out that getting close to this ice wall is harder than it would seem, as it's guarded by heavily armed and trigger-happy NASA agents.
Yes.
And those
Oh my God, these guys with their horn rim glasses and slide rules and pocket protectors are out there fucking...
Well, and spare a thought for a second to how many tens of thousands of NASA agents it would take to man a wall that extends around the entirety of the flat Earth.
And all you ever hear is stories like when Anthony Bourdain tried to go somewhere being turned back by zodiacs full of murderous NASA employees.
Well, to put a pin in that one, because those poor souls that somehow managed to make the journey are captured and mentally reprogrammed to forget what they have seen.
Oh, of course they will.
I should have guessed.
How about the dome? How big is it? What's it made of? How come it remains perfectly transparent and does not get dirty on the inside due to pollution or on the outside due to cosmic dust? Why do we not see the reflection of the sun in it or of large cities at night? These would seem to be pretty fundamental questions, but surprisingly...
Why do meteorites pass through it?
Right, it's durable enough that meteorites bounce off it, but flat earthers don't spend a lot of time on this particular corner of the flat Earth. The size of the dome is a source of much disagreement, however. Some have the top of the dome only several thousand feet above sea level, while others place it thousands of kilometers in order to account for Mount Everest and air travel.
Oh my God.
This brings us to the most fundamental question of this whole cesspool of derp. Uncle Mark, you asked it. Who and why?
Right.
Flat earthers eagerly concede that the flat Earth is not a natural phenomenon, but that it was created by a higher power. The vast majority believe that it was the God of the Bible, as you said, Uncle Dan, who built this cosmic snow globe. But there is no shortage of alien theories or interdimensional theories as well. But flat earthers universally believe that it was constructed and must have been done so for a purpose. As for the why would some higher power create a flat disk with a very resilient self-cleaning glass dome and hurl it through the cosmos? Why would this power do it in such a way as to fool the sentient inhabitants of this menagerie into thinking the world is spherical?
Who are perfectly capable of discovering the truth of it.
Yeah, exactly.
With our science.
Exactly. What is the point of all this?
Right.
Flat earthers vary on the answer to these questions, but where they pretty much all agree is that these power... Again, I don't think any two flat earthers could completely agree as the why, but they all 100% agree that the powers that be know about the flat earth, probably know why it is, and are managing a global conspiracy to keep that knowledge hidden. So,
Yeah.
I know if your brain's not hurting enough yet, let's talk a bit about the experiments that are suggested by flat earthers to prove the earth is flat and that have been attempted by others.
Sure.
One suggested experiment is to take a level on a commercial airliner.
Yes. And I've seen videos,
Yeah.
so many videos of people doing this.
If the earth is
ding-dongs.
flat and one places a level on their tray table, the bubble will stay right between the guidelines. However, if the earth is truly curved, the plane will constantly have to be flying in a nose-down position to keep from flying off into space.
No.
Leaving aside the obvious fact that the obvious fact that level is a matter of perspective, and that the size of the jet airplane, let alone a small level, are so small compared to the size of the Earth, such that the Earth's curve would be imperceptible. Leaving all that aside, has anyone ever been on a plane with a perfectly level tray table?
Well, I mean, they've got you beat on that one because I did see a video where they went into the aisle and put it on the floor.
I saw that too. But, of course, again, like their notion of their whole shtick is like, I can see mountains over there, therefore the earth is flat, even though I can't see the ones further along because of atmospheric interference.
Right.
A plane flying in a straight line would just fly away from the earth. God help me. Okay. One man, Mad Mike Hughes, decided to put his money where his mouth was and tried to reach...
Formerly of Flat Earth.
Formerly of Flat Earth. He tried to reach the glass dome himself in his homemade steam-powered rocket. Hughes, who before his ill-fated Icarus impersonation held the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest limousine jump in history of 31 meters.
That's a good one.
He jumped over the limousine, or the limousine was the thing that he used to jump?
He jumped his limousine 31 meters.
Oh, my God.
In February of last year, he lit the fuse on his rocket to escape the surly bonds of Earth and touch the face of God. His rocket soared to an astounding altitude of 1,875 feet before falling back to Earth, killing Hughes, and proving nothing except dumb ideas can be deadly.
Can we nickname him Derple Canurple?
I'll bet the Earth feels pretty flat when you're coming at it about 190 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He flattened right along with it.
Yeah. Exactly. Many of the other experiments attempted by flat earthers have been comically contradictory. For example, they came up with the very testable idea that if the Earth completes one full rotation every 24 hours, then every hour it has to rotate 15 degrees. That's true. Therefore, if you have a gyroscope sensitive enough on any point on the Earth, if the Earth is rotating, you would get a 15-degree inclination in the gyroscope. Now, this won't work with just your store-bought toy gyroscopes. They're not nearly sensitive enough for that kind of thing. But there are gyroscopes that are, and they're called ring laser gyroscopes. So this community of flat earthers bought one for $20,000.
Yeah, these are made for like aviation. These are made for like airplanes,
missile
and stuff.
guidance and stuff.
Missile
like that.
guidance and stuff like that. Very, very delicate pieces of equipment and expensive. So when they bought this thing and they turned it on, incredibly, it registered an exact inclination of 15 degrees. But as we'll talk about, these people are not in search of the truth. They are in search of evidence confirming what they already believe. Therefore, and I'm not making this up, this experiment proved nothing to them except that Big Gyroscope is in on the conspiracy.
Right.
I'm not making that up.
Because the thing about
all
missiles
evidence
is
against is evidence for. Eventually,
the thing about missiles is you would rather they not hit their targets so that these people aren't proved right. Obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is their go-to for any evidence that contradicts their model. It's just all part of the conspiracy.
Right.
So if you back them into a corner, that's where they're going to go. Their favorite punching bag, for obvious reasons, is NASA. But they will, with alacrity, toss in anybody who tries to debunk them into the conspiracy, right?
Sure.
As I mentioned before...
We're in there now. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good. Look, that's great company to be in as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Truly.
As I mentioned before, many people, even prominent ones, have tried to debunk this lunacy. There are video after video on YouTube of astrophysicists, astronomers, mathematicians, and even astronauts debating flat earthers, and the results are nauseating.
Yeah.
Whatever evidence or arguments or science is presented by these people they're just simply discarded out of hand by flat earthers. No matter how good the arguments, it seems to have no effect. Scientists have even taken flat earthers out to run experiments in real time. A group of physicists even took the aforementioned Mark Sargent and a group of flat earthers to the Salton Sea to run an experiment. They drove a rubber dinghy straight away from the observers with a striped flag. If the Earth is curved, then as the boat crests and then passes the horizon, the stripes on the flag will start to disappear below the horizon, one by one. The experiment played out exactly as predicted, and everyone was watching with their own binoculars, so nothing could have been tampered with, and one of the flat earthers even was confirming that the flag had not been lowered. In the face of real-time, undeniable debunking, the flat earthers simply dismissed the phenomenon as atmospheric interference. After watching their conspiracy debunked right before their eyes, Sargent asked his fellow dopes if this proved them wrong, and exactly none of them raised their hands.
Wow.
You could see the scientists deflate before your eyes in real time. It was just like, fuck. Another quick one, if you hike to the top of Mauna Kea, the highest peak in Hawaii, and look west, on a flat Earth, you should be able to see the highest peak of Kauai, Kauai-Kini, only 303 miles away. But you can't because the Earth is round. Flat Earthers were invited to hike Mauna Kea and see for themselves. Again, they merely dismissed this as atmospheric interference. It's maddening.
Yeah.
And these online discussions nearly always become heated. The frustration of scientists not only trying to explain the evidence of the round Earth, but the scientific method itself, to people who are equal parts confident and ignorant, nearly always get the best of them. I haven't seen a single one. I've never seen a single mind changed. And try as I might, and I'm sure I might have missed this, but I couldn't find any former flat earthers. Like, it's just not a community. And
to be perfectly honest, like, if you were a flat earther, if you believed something utterly ridiculous and then it was proven to you and you actually accepted reality, you're not going to want to, like, talk a lot
That's
about that
probably
time
true.
period in your life.
now,
It's kind of like being an ex-Nazi. You probably just want all that to go away.
truly.
Right.
Now, in and of itself, flat eartherism would seem to be somewhat harmless, and I guess it is. However, the belief in the flat earth, which is itself avowedly anti-intellectual, links directly to anti-evolution conspiracies because they don't believe the earth is old enough, anti-moon landing conspiracies because obviously, and anti-vax conspiracies because that's all part of how they keep us in control. Taken as a whole, these conspiracies are actively threatening public education and public health.
Yeah.
And as we're in the throes of a global pandemic, this kind of thinking can be extremely fatal.
Yeah.
So I'll conclude with this because it goes a long way to help explain not only flat earthers, but QAnon, hollow earthers, hollow mooners, and even religious people. Mark, you sent me an op-ed in the New York Times the other day by Thomas Edsel that talked about
very good
op-ed that talked about the resilience of conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
The op-ed was specifically discussing QAnon, but it's just as applicable here. Edsel quoted Jovan Byford, a senior lecturer in psychology at the Open University in England, who said, quote, "Conspiracy theories seduce not so much through the power of argument, but through the intensity of the passions that they stir. Underpinning conspiracy theories are feelings of resentment, indignation, and disenchantment about the world. They are stories about good and evil as much as they are about what is true." He goes on to say, lack of evidence of a conspiracy or positive proof against its existence is taken by believers as evidence of the craftiness of those behind the plot and their ability to dupe the public. So, our minds break trying to come up with ways to explain that this is lunacy, but all we're doing is reinforcing what they believe, which is insane.
That same article pointed out that there are a lot of people who believe in completely contradictory things about the same subject.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, what was it, Doug? That Diana.
If you believe that Diana was murdered, you're more likely to believe that she faked her own death.
Right. Princess Diana.
Princess Diana. Yeah. Like that's insane. That's so crazy.
And I think another thing that I got out of that article is, in a weird way, for a lot of these believers, it doesn't matter what the conspiracy theory is. Right? It's
not at all.
It could be anything.
Once you believe one, you're so likely to believe any or all, or it's just it's almost a way of being. It's not a belief system so much as it is a sort of mode of humaning.
Yeah. These people don't typically live in just one of these conspiracies. They live in many of them.
Well, so Doug and I have a friend who's just one of these people who's a recalcitrant personality. And so this is what I wonder about conspiracy theory believers. How many of them really believe it? And how many of them are just kind of dickish trolls that stake out an absurd position and then love driving everybody crazy by dying on that hill?
Yeah.
Right.
I do think there's a percentage that are that.
Yeah.
But in watching way too many YouTube videos by these people and them debating debunkers, they seem pretty fucking sincere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is very harsh. Okay,
Well,
there you go. There's flat Earth. You got to live on it.
We're a stupid country.
We're a stupid species here riding on this disc below us.
Yes.
Is that what being a disc jockey is?
It is.
That is. Oh my God, you've cracked it wide open.
Let's get out of here.
All right, Doug. Well, thank God we got that over with.
Indeed.
All right. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Well, friends, that's it for this week's stupid show.
Hey, if you feel like you're floating around on a disc, send us an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you are rising to heaven on a column of diarrhea, leave us a voicemail about it. 903-88-HOW2, which is 903-884-6986. You can also not tell me about that on Twitter.
And as always, gratitude to our most generous patrons.
And, of course, thanks to Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thanks to all of you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Bye.